Alright, and the next step, what we're going to do is seal his eyeballs, because this is going to help us achieve the overall stone effect, and it'll just look much cooler if we do this. So what I'm going to do over here on the toolbar is select the zoom tool, and then I'll just go ahead, click on the image, and I'll draw a selection just around one eye and zoom into it just like this. I'm going to make my window here just a little bit larger. There we go. And if I need to, I can just zoom in. I'll click on the image once and zoom in just a little bit closer. Now there's several ways to fill his eye in. What I'm going to do is go down to the bottom of the toolbar and go right into quick mask mode by clicking on this button right here. Then I'll select a paintbrush and I'll right click on the image and adjust my paintbrush options. I'll want to go hardness all the way to 100, and the master diameter, well, it'll just depend how large my image is. The larger, higher resolution the image is, the larger my brush will have to be. This looks pretty good right here. I'll go ahead and click outside of that to make that go away. And what I'll do is just start to paint over the eyeball. Now you'll want to leave the eyelids intact. So you're just getting the eyeball. You see that? There we go. Now to get in this smaller, tighter spot here, I can right click, lower the master diameter, and then just go ahead and fill this in. And the reason why I'm using the mask mode, you can use a selection if you want, but I like to use the mask mode in case I make a mistake, which I will. I make a lot of mistakes. But it's easier to fix your mistakes in quick mask mode than it is to try to correct a selection. So there we go. We've filled the eyeball there. That looks almost perfect. I'll just go ahead and seal that just a little bit more, covering the entire eyeball, just leaving the eyelid there intact. There we go. That looks good. Now what I can do, I can stop here, but I can also go over and do the right eye. So I can hold down the space bar on the keyboard and just move over to the other eye, release the space bar there, and then I'll just continue on painting over this eyeball over here. I'll just zoom in just a little bit closer so I can see what I'm doing here. This really helps to see. I just screwed up right there, so I can select the eraser tool and I can just come in here and just erase that away. But it looks like I don't have my opacity set to 100%, so I'm going to go ahead and undo that, and I'll come up here to the opacity and just type in 100%. Make sure that's 100%. There we go. And now I'll erase away. Look at that. I'll select the paintbrush and fill this in completely. There we go. Always try to avoid any areas that look like they're too straight. Like, see this up here? It's not going to look too hot once you fill it with the gradient to fill in the eye. So always try to make things look just a little bit more rounded if possible. Just so they look more organic, I guess you would say. There we go, that looks good. I'll go ahead and just lower this down just a touch to fill this little crack here. Whoops, let me select that paintbrush. There we go. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out here using my navigator palette, which is off the screen here. And I'm going to use the hand tool, and we can see that we've filled in the eyes. Alright, so if we come down here to the bottom of the toolbar, you can switch back to standard mode, and that'll create a selection around the eyes. And for those of you that know how I work, I use the quick mask, or I edit in quick mask mode quite often. So But after this, what we'll need to do is come up here to select and inverse the selection, because right now we're selecting everything except the eyes. That's just how the quick mask mode works. So if I come up here to inverse, now we are just selecting the eyes and nothing else. Okay, so what can we do now? Well, I can just come over here to the toolbar and select the gradient tool. And with the gradient tool, we can fill these eyes in and make them look sort of almost like a gradient. See, if I look at the completed stone, if we zoom into it, I can show you the effect that I'm talking about. Look at the eyes here, and that's the effect that we're going to try to create, which it goes from light to dark, almost makes the eyeballs look like they're rounded, so it looks more realistic. So what I'll do is select the gradient tool, and as a default setting, if you have it, the third option here says black, white. Well, that just basically means that the gradient is going from black to white. And that'll work. If I select that and I position the crosshair of the gradient tool just a little bit below the selection on one of the eyes and hold down the shift key, I'll draw up and you'll see it'll just fill that in with that gradient. Look at that. If you don't like it, go ahead and undo it and you can just do it again. Usually, sometimes I'll I'll fill it in a couple times just to make sure I got it. If you're too close to the selection, it might be a little bit harsh. The highlight might be a little bit too strong. So I like to start just a little bit below the selection, hold down Shift, click and drag up past the selection and do it that way. And overall, if you still find it to be too bright, you can always go up to brightness and contrast and turn things down from there. There we go. Looking good. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And let's come up here to select and deselect. There you go. You got it. And now he has no eyeballs. We've basically filled that in.